Sanbatskano. I'm Peter Bittner. You're watching Talk With Me. Sanbatskano. Hello, and welcome to the new edition of Talk With Me. I'm your new host, Peter Bittner. Today we have with us singer-songwriter Bë.Dөлgöön by Escalon, better known as his stage name, Magnolian.
Bë.Dөлgöön by Escalon, or Magnolian, is an indie folk singer-songwriter from Ulaanbaatar who has attracted quite a following in Mongolia and internationally for his music, which many compare to The National and Bon Iver. In June 2015, he performed as the only solo act at Playtime, Mongolia's biggest music festival. He has also played at some of the world's premier festivals, including in South Korea's Zandari Festa and the United States' South by Southwest. His EP Famous Men was released last June, and a music video for the title track was released in January. He's currently working on a new album. When he's not creating or playing music, Bë.Dөлgöön works as a videographer and documentary filmmaker.
Thanks so much for your time today.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. So tell us a little bit about when you first started playing music.
Well, I started learning guitar when I was 12 or 13. I never really know, but I was I initially wanted to learn the bass because I felt like everybody played guitar, could just throw a rock and hit a guitarist, and so I wanted to learn bass because it just seemed cooler and more rare to me. So I told my parents, hey, I want to learn bass, and they're like, nah, just learn guitar. If you know guitar, you'll know how to play bass, right? And then so they bought me this acoustic guitar, and I was just trying to figure out how to play some songs on my own. And then my mom's boss at the time, he knew how to play guitar, so he came to our house one Saturday, taught me half the basic chords, half the chords, and then told me to practice. And then the next week he came back, taught me the other half, and he never came again.
Wow.
So yeah,
two lessons, that's all you got.
Yeah, 2 lessons, that's all I got. And then I discovered something called tabs. So at first, like, somebody who doesn't know how to read it just looks like a bunch of numbers on lines, but they're really, really simple. And then I learned how to I figured out that tabs were a thing, and that's when you start learning the Green Day songs and everything. So that's how it started.
When you first started playing and copying different artists, when you were practicing your tabs and stuff, you mentioned Green Day. Was that one of your first influences to really get into guitar?
Well, I think when you're learning guitar, everybody starts, with like there are first guitar songs that everybody learns when you're learning guitar, and I think some Green Day songs are definitely one of them. Of course, there's like, Smells Like Teen Spirit or something, but and then there's like the Green Day songs like Time of Your Life and things like that. That's the first song that I learned how to fingerpick. And but I started off listening to pop music actually, because I didn't really have anybody in my family who was that into music, and they didn't influence me. I didn't have, like, my dad isn't that into music. I didn't have an older brother, so, well, my dad listened to a lot of Queen, which I think, so I got that from him, but otherwise, I just found artists on my own, and I was listening to pop for a long time. And then a friend of mine in high school, he showed me all these like punk bands and stuff, so that sort of started changing the direction of my taste.
So what sort of punk bands?
Well, I mean, it's a little embarrassing to say right now, but there was a band called Simple Plan. I think they're still around, that everybody in our school was listening to, and there was also, like, of course, Green Day and Blink-182, and then you'd go to the more like emo, like metal bands and things like that. So that was So during your teens, you have a lot of like your taste transforms a lot, and then I think it was really when I was like 17 or 18, when I started finding the bands that I still listen to today. So my taste more or less matured, or I don't want to say plateaued, but
stabilized.
Stabilized to a certain point at the end of high school.
And so which bands do you listen to for fun now?
Oh, for fun. Well, I guess you listen to music for a lot of different reasons, right? And for fun, I've been listening to a lot of like hip-hops or R&B sort of thing. I've been listening to a lot of Anderson .Paak. I've been listening to Dr. Dre's Compton recently, and I just I've been listening for the past couple of days. I've been listening to St. Vincent's new record.
And so, as far as good songs, you've had a lot of success with your EP that came out.
Yeah, thanks.
It sounds like you're also releasing some music videos. You have obviously your title track, Famous Men, that debuted in January, is that right?
Yeah, was it in January? I think so. Yeah, it was a few months ago. That was a long time in the making, actually. We actually shot that in the summer, and then, you know, and then we released it like 6 months later. We should have released it back in the fall, but yeah, we released it in January. It was made by a guy called Bølgøön. He's a photographer, but he also makes film, and yeah, he also shot the Bride and the Bachelor video as well. And I approached him and said, hey, do you want to make a music video for me? And he said he wanted to do Famous Men, and I just gave him full creative control and told him, you know, just, you know, do whatever you want. I guess the concept for the music video was kind of, you know, it is a bit abstract, but I think there is some sort of like underlying message. You know, maybe it's like maybe political or kind of you know, satirical, or, you know, so yeah, I was kind of happy with the way I was pretty happy with the way he interpreted the song, and yeah, his interpretation of the song was pretty different from the way I intended it to be, but I was really happy with it in the end.
Take the blonde with the blue bow in a city I don't know, in a city I don't grow.
So some of the audience may not know, but you're also a videographer. That's one of the ways that you also flex your creative muscles. So how does that inform your music video production process? It sounds like you give a lot of creative control away. Is that difficult at times with other videos, for example?
Yeah, I'm also, you know, apart from music, I'm also interested in films, and so I do, like, I can operate a camera and edit and things like that. So that's sort of what I do as a freelancer, and so when I'm making videos, I can talk to people who make videos in like the technical language, you know, and it is a little bit risky when you give creative control to somebody, but I think that's sort of how the person realizes their own vision, you know, and doesn't get diluted by somebody else butting in and telling you how to you know, create their own vision, and yeah, but I think for the new videos on the new record, I'm going to be more involved in the productions. So we actually already shot one of the videos for the new songs.
Okay.
The song hasn't even been recorded yet, but we shot the video, and I shot the video myself, and a friend of mine, Odvol, she directed the video.
Okay.
And, yeah, that won't be released until probably the summer or something. So, and then there's also another video that I'm directing myself, so that's going to be exciting.
Great. And you have a new album coming out at some point?
At some point,
okay.
Yeah, at some point.
Great. How many tracks will be on that? Tell your fans.
I currently have 9 tracks on it.
Okay.
Maybe it'll become 10, maybe not. But I'm happy with the 9 tracks on it. And 4 of the tracks are already finished. Of course, they need like different production and maybe some work on the arrangements. And the other 5 are still at various stages. And I just have to, you know, sit down and work with them, you know.
And are your new songs in English, in Mongolian? I know on your EP you had Banquet in both versions.
Yeah. I initially write all the songs in English, and then write Mongolian lyrics for them afterwards. And
why is that? Tell me about that. Mongolian's your first language.
Yeah,
you compose and write in English first.
Yeah.
Why?
I think, you know, I just listened to a lot more English music, and I watch English movies in English languages and read books in English. And I guess when you start writing music, it just sort of came out in English, you know. So it seemed more like I don't know if it's the English language itself that accommodates itself better to melodies, or so when I just started writing songs, it just naturally started coming out in English, you know. Like when you're looking for a melody, you kind of, you know, mumble words in your mouth or something, and they'd always be English words. And but it's not like I don't want to write lyrics in Mongolian, you know. I do, and I think the new record, I'm hoping to have more songs in Mongolian on the new record. Ideally, I'd like to have 5 of the songs in Mongolian, but we'll see how that actually goes.
Sure.
I've been trying to work on it myself, but they always keep coming out kind of awkward, and so I've also delegated to other like friends and other musicians whether they can help me write the lyrics. And Tochtun from The Colors actually helped me write one of the lyrics for one of the songs. So
great.
Yeah.
So you've been collaborating on the new album, it sounds like, quite a bit.
Yeah, a bit. Like I have a band now. Like back in when I was making Famous Men, it was just me by myself, and we fleshed them out in the studio, right? But this time, when we go into the studio, we want to have the demos to be more or less complete, and have a band now. So I do have you know, the luxury of fleshing the songs out to become a more full band thing.
Right.
And but of course I have to write the songs myself before I bring it to the band. So yeah, it's I've never really written a song like with somebody else, you know. So maybe I don't know how. But after I've written the song, you know, after the song has all the parts, then we can start thinking about how to elevate it more.
That's great. When do you hope to get into the studio?
Oh man, I wanted to start recording at least a couple of the tracks, but the producer that I work with, his name is Muhargut, and he's I think busy with like a TV show, and so I guess it sort of depends on when he's free as well. Depends on when I finish the songs,
right.
And hopefully it'll be in the summer. I wanted to release it in the summer, but I don't think I can, so it'll probably be pushed back to the fall, but definitely this year.
We've traveled internationally, you've played at major music festivals, so yeah, it seems like things are going pretty well.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's just 6 songs, right? But they did pretty well, yeah.
That's fantastic. So we're going to go to your studio and have the chance to really see what your creative process looks like. Can you give us a little overview, a little introduction before we head over?
Yeah, our studio is sort of at a big room in our house, and yeah, it was just this big space that we didn't really know what to do with, so I turned it into like a music space that I can rehearse in, and you know, just practice in, and also make music. I mean, I don't really have to be there to make music, but it has all the instruments, you know.
What other instruments do you play besides guitar?
Well, guitar is my primary instrument, but I do write a lot of the songs on the piano as well. I wouldn't say I play piano, but if you know one instrument, then you can sort of transpose it all into different instruments, because music is just like one language, you know, and just the different instruments are just different expressions of them, of music. And yeah, I do write a lot of the songs on piano, and I can also, you know, play some drums, but like I wouldn't call myself a drummer either. Yeah. And yeah, you know, you just sort of pick up all these instruments, you know, and a lot of musicians tend to be multi-instrumentalists, you know. Yeah, so if a musician can play drums and guitar and piano and bass, like, don't be fooled. Like, they're not that special or anything like that. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm really looking forward to heading over there and checking it out, and we'll get a chance to hopefully hear you jam, and I may try to chime in and stumble through some chords. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So these are my guitars.
What do you have here?
Not just guitars. This is actually literally my first ever guitar. It's seen a lot of things. When I asked my parents, when I told my parents that I wanted to learn guitar, this is what they bought me. And when I was 12 or 13, and yeah, it's an Essex acoustic. It's I've written a lot of songs on this. I've learned how to play guitar on this. So I didn't really, I haven't played this in a long time. So, yeah, I mean, the instruments have to be played. You know, you gotta play them and you gotta use them in order for them to, you know, stay in shape and be good. You know, this is a Duesenberg star player. So this is it's a great guitar. I got this in where did we get this in? I think it was in New York. Yeah, when we went for South by, we went to New York after we went to Austin, and we got this. So it's this is a banjo. So yeah, we use this. This is a banjo. So if you want your songs to sound like Sufjan Stevens songs, this is what you use. And my aunt, when she went to Russia, she got this for me. So, and we used this on the Dream of a Ridiculous Man track. This is a good old Fender. It's actually memorabilia. So, yeah, my, the Mongolian band Hort, their guitarist gave this to my dad, and we actually, I actually use it. It should actually be framed, so because it's memorabilia, but it's still a good sounding, good working guitar. And this is the newest edition. I don't actually buy all these guitars. Like this is also the guitarist of Niktan. OG gave this to my dad as well. So and we only got this a couple weeks ago. So we used this at a show just the other night. So the sounds, it's quite good. So yeah, this is the drums. This is a Tama drums. So I'm going to take you through how a song comes together. So with all these things, all these guitars and the piano and the drums and everything, you don't need any of it. All you really need is a computer, and like with most things now, you can do it on the computer. And so I'll just show you how a song comes together. It's a lot of people think songwriting is some sort of sorcery or voodoo, and it is in certain ways, but also isn't in certain ways. And I'll just show you how I go about creating a song. So every song is different, and every songwriter and creator is different. So some people start with the beat first, and that rarely happens with me. I usually start with the guitar or piano, piano thing first. How do you like the sound of that? I think I might use kind of like this one better. Not that. So that's going to be the bass melody. And I'd actually written that, or came up with that bit a long time ago on the guitar. So hold on, I'll just show you the guitar bit. So that melody was actually originally on the guitar. It was called 5th grade camp stories, because as I was writing it, my brother, he was in 5th grade and he had just come back from camp, and I was trying to record the song, but he wouldn't stop telling me about, stories from camp. So I just called it 5th grade camp stories. And the guitar part, so this song on the guitar goes right? So, as I was saying before, you can write a song on the guitar and then transpose it onto the piano. So that's what I'm doing here. So that melody on the keyboard would be. So let's just try recording that. Let's come up with a beat per minute. So it goes. Bum, 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 bum. Just use this side. Bum, 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 bum. So the beat per minute seems to be 113. So we put the metronome on 113. So that's the beat per minute, right? And then we just record it. And a lot of songs are just loops and recordings, right? So you just record one part, and then you just loop it, and then a lot of it is just layering. So I'll just show you how that happens. And the great thing about computers is all the notes come up as individual things, individual little strips on the interface. So you can literally manipulate all the notes however you want. So you know. But of course, having a live touch on it just takes it to a new level. So you should generally record all the things live, all the parts on an actual keyboard, so that you have the human touch. And so this is what it sounds like now.
So, do you have any upcoming dates or performances where people may get a sneak peek of any of your new songs, or are you going to be playing anything?
Yeah, we are planning like a Magnolian show on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
All right.
And we'll try to do it in a different kind of space, not just at a regular venue, but nothing's confirmed yet, but hopefully we'll announce them soon.
Where can viewers follow along?
Well, I generally just post everything on Facebook and Instagram. So, yeah. And I've collected a lot of emails for newsletters, and hopefully we'll start that as well.
Great. Yeah, that brings me to my next question. How do you market yourself, as an independent artist, mainly through social media channels, or what do you do to get your work out into the world?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook is big in Mongolia. I think it's big everywhere. Yeah. But yeah, I think Mongolians use Facebook like more than they use like the internet. You know what I mean? So just if it's on Facebook, then it generally news just gets around.
Sure.
And so it's mostly just Facebook. Yeah, and with the songs, if your songs aren't on YouTube, then Mongolians don't hear it.
Right.
Like I think YouTube is this is the most preferred way in Mongolia to listen to music. Like we don't have Spotify here. A lot of people don't use Apple Music. Even like domestic streaming services don't seem to get picked up that easily. So I think people usually opt for YouTube to listen to music. So that's why I'm trying to get my songs on YouTube as well. I think when the new songs come out, I'll send them to a bunch of blogs, see if they pick it up, because there's sort of a food chain for how music gets heard, because there's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of songs, but then what do you listen to? What am I listening to? And what is people actually listening to? And how do they find those songs? Right. From the ocean of songs that are out there. And for those songs to get sort of get heard, first of all they have to be good, right? And then I guess at the lowest level of the food chain is like music blogs and bloggers and A&R people who sort of scout out good songs.
What's A&R?
A&R is artist and repertoire. Okay. That's what it stands for, and that's generally music labels and big companies have an A&R department that scouts out new talent. So they're basically talent scouts.
Okay.
And but talent scouts usually have to go to your shows, right? And they're not coming to Mongolia, right? So So for me, blogs is what I'm aiming for. So you submit your songs to a bunch of blogs, and there's like a blog aggregator. Like, so if your song gets put on like 10 blogs, then it'll pop up on the aggregator and say, hey, these 10 blogs are buzzing about this song, you know, and then the labels kind of look at that, you know, and then more and more, and then publications also look at that. So if your song gets a review on a good website, you know, then more and more people will listen to it, you know. So it's so that's sort of how it works internationally, right?
Right.
In Mongolia, it's a lot simple. Like if you want your song on the radio, you just go to the radio station and say, hey, here's my song.
It's pretty direct.
Yeah, do you want to play it? And they'll be like, okay. Like, and it's really, really easy, actually. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize it was so different of kind of a market for music.
Yeah, it's a big world. It's that's sort of what you realize when you go to like festivals abroad, you know. It's really, really big. Or I guess Mongolia is really, really small. That's sort of what you realize. You know, there are only a handful of bands, or it feels like there are only a handful of bands. There are actually a lot of bands.
Right.
And yeah, just to get radio play or just to get reviewed abroad is, you know, is a big deal, you know. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on getting your work out there already. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I've you know, I think I've sort of laid the groundwork, you know. So like now maybe I have like a small audience on Spotify, for example. So if I have new songs come out, then I'll have, you know, like people on Spotify who would already be interested, you know. So, and you know, just having things like we played at South by Southwest, you know, that's just good to have on your profile, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
that's a big name.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, thousands of bands play at South by Southwest, but it's a recognized name, you know. So, yeah.
Another thing I'm interested about is how you came up with your stage name, Magnolian. What does it mean? How does that inform kind of your feel and your flow when you're composing?
Man, picking names are hard. Like after you've written the songs, like writing the songs is like 60% of the work. Like naming the songs and then finding like cover art and things like that. That's actually really, really hard. And I went through a couple of different versions of the stage name before we landed on Magnolian, and I think just the word Magnolia. I saw the word many years ago, Magnolia, and it looked like Mongolia, right? Because the spelling is very close.
Sure.
And I thought it said Mongolia, but it said Magnolia, and it turns out to be like this flower. But the flower's got nothing to do with it. It's kind of like a play on words of Mongolia, you know, like it's kind of saying Mongolian, but it's not saying Mongolian, you know. And I think that's so it's playing with the notion of like identity and things like that, you know. So and I think there's you know, it's a bit of a pun. You know, there's play on words, so that's sort of, and the word Magnolia just, you know, stayed with me. Every time I encountered the word, it just seemed like a unique, sort of interesting word to me. So yeah, when it came to name the band, Magnolian just seemed like a, you know, like an appropriate name.
You have a lot of animations, I noticed too, for your songs. Yeah, and some of them have very obvious kind of national symbols. And do you plan that out when you're writing your songs and producing? Like,
no. When I write my songs, I don't make them like intentionally Mongolian. Like Bride and the Bachelor has like the whole Muddenhorde bit at the end. I didn't even realize that it sounded Mongolian until much later. Like I wrote that song many, many years ago, and I wrote the guitar part as well many years ago, and then I played it to somebody else, and they said it sounded very Mongolian. Yeah. And I didn't realize it myself, and then we thought, oh, let's just make it totally Mongolian then, and play it on Muddenhorde and make it sound like a sort of Makhtar, you know. And so, I mean, I don't go for trying to, you know, like force Mongolian elements into my songs, you know. Right. So yeah, if they happen, you know, they happen either subconsciously or unconsciously or just kind of naturally. But I don't insist on adding like Muddenhorde to my songs or anything like that.
Well, thanks so much for your time today, Dөлгөөн. It's a pleasure having you on our show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It was great talking.
You bet.
We're talking with you, right?
That's right. Thanks
Yeah.
for talking with me.
Yeah.
All right, so that does it for this edition of Talk With Me. I'm your host, Peter Bittner. You can connect with us on Facebook. Our official page is Talk With Me, Star TV Mongolia. You can also watch this episode and many others on our YouTube channel, Star TV HD. Thanks for joining us today. We hope to see you here again next time for our next edition of Talk With Me. Bashla Barte.